Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for coming to our quarterly Bridal Open House. We are changing up our format a little bit, and we are going to hear from a panel of former brides and groom who have recently been married and have been through what y'all are going through right now. So we have some questions for them. They're going to start by just introducing themselves, and then we'll open up the floor for y'all to ask any burning questions that you have as well. So, Catherine?
Sure. All right, I'm on. Okay, so my name is Catherine Hilton. I'm from Greenville, and I got married October 26th at Old Cigar Warehouse. And I think we're supposed to say why we chose this place, which was not a hard decision. I was actually looking at this space for a work event, and while I was here, called my husband and said, "I'm sorry, we have to book this immediately." So it wasn't hard, and we had a pretty quick engagement. I think we got engaged right around Easter, and then got married in October. So it was pretty fast, but the crew here was, you were before me, but we were like 7th or 8th. I mean, it was very early on, but couldn't have gone. I mean, at the end of the day, we looked at each other and said that was the most amazing day. We wouldn't have changed a thing. So it was great.
Hi, I'm Harold Hughes. I got married with my wife Tiffany, who's in class tonight, but we got married on October 12th here, and we got engaged in January. I actually proposed January 21st of last year, and then we were looking for spaces but couldn't find one that accommodated like the reception area and also do the ceremony in the same space. And honestly, like, the way the space looks now is a billion times different than it was when we came here. So she didn't allude to it, but like, those stairs weren't there at all. That door wasn't there. That wasn't there. The chandelier wasn't here. The bar, none of this was here. And so when we came in, it was really a complete blank slate. And the main deciding factor for us was that it could do both ceremony and reception. My wife wanted a really big family-style wedding, and I wanted like a raging party. And so we were able to find a good way of balancing that. The look is everything, the concrete floors, all that, and the staff was just fantastic. We worked with Kathleen on it, so that's why we picked the place.
Hi, my name is Megan Meyer, and I am not an official Old Cigar Warehouse bride, but that is only because I got married in 2012 before this awesome venue opened. And so I joke with Kathleen and Tammy all the time, I want a do-over, but right now my budget doesn't allow for another wedding. And I don't think my husband would appreciate that either. But I was a liquid catering bride, and I've been at this venue multiple times for different corporate events, different Pulse events, and I've stalked their Facebook like mad. So I would get married here in a heartbeat if someone would give me some extra money to get married again.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And we'll just kind of pass the mic around. One of the first questions we wanted to talk about, as I'm sure all of you are feeling some sort of stress in some way or another, is I was going to ask each of you to just talk about an aspect of your wedding day that you anticipated, you stressed about, you anticipated it being a big deal, and then the day of, it really was not at all.
I'm going to let you start with that.
That's fine. The biggest thing that was stressful for me was being concerned about the schedule. Obviously, when you're thinking about booking a place, you think about the hours, and we worked with Kathleen because she was the coordinator essentially when I was getting married, and you think, okay, how long do your vendors need? How long will it take to flip the space? And then, will the reception work this long? If the bar goes this long, how much time to break down? So I was kind of stressed out a lot about making sure the schedule was going to work the way I wanted it to, that we weren't going to be keeping the guests too long before we cut the cake or before something or another. So one of the main things that saved me, which may have been a segue question, is having a day-of coordinator. That person was fantastic. They kept us on a schedule. We came up with the schedule beforehand. She'd tap us on the shoulder and hand us 2 wine glasses and say, hey, take a sip and smile and kiss each other or have some cake, and it was fantastic. So the stressful part was the schedule for me personally and my bride. So
I'll say I've got one specifically to the space because I would think I may have been the first bride that I did the ceremony and reception here. That was one of the reasons why we chose this location too, just because it's so flexible. But we had a full, I think, like 7-piece, 10-piece band, 9-piece band, and I think other people had DJs, which we just hadn't flipped that before, and so the band told us that they needed something ridiculous like
3 hours.
Yeah, I don't know, it was like 8 hours, 3 hours to set up, and we had an hour. So Kathleen and the team and Jennifer, our day of coordinator, which is also wonderful to have on the schedule piece, you know, I was definitely stressed about it, but at a certain point you just have to let some things like that go, and they handled it, and I think they did it in maybe 45 minutes. So it was seamless, it was amazing, and really it is the scheduling piece, but how you work the space and how they finagle it from flipping to one room to another really is just seamless, and you can do so many different things with the space. So I would say that would be mine. I don't know if nope. Should non-stress.
Okay. When you first started your planning, what aspects were the most important to you? And did you know right from the start what were your top priorities? And if so, did you kind of coordinate those within your budget accordingly?
Yeah. So I think our experience sounds maybe like your experience. We wanted music, food. We wanted the ceremony to be really special. Obviously, that's a given. It sounds really bad to put that third. That was first. And then, you know, we just wanted it to be a good time and a party. And so we, you know, for me, the flowers were important. The pictures were very important. But it, you know, I definitely went in with a budget like that, the priority in mind. I will say I went to Bridal 101, Wedding 101 up the street, and they were phenomenal in helping prioritize. I've seriously been a bridesmaid in 14 weddings, and when it comes to your own, you think you've got it covered, and I do events for other people, and then the day of, you're like, oh, I have to plan all this for myself. So they were phenomenal, and you really do just kind of prioritize, make your budget accordingly, and then just keep true to what is important to you, and the rest will fall in place.
So for us, ours was pretty simple. It was, obviously the day was going to be really special to us, but we wanted, from a sales side, I use the word user experience. We wanted our guests to leave the wedding feeling like they witnessed love that day, that they went to the best wedding ever. Or if they'd been married, it took them back to their wedding day, or if they had never been married, it made them want to get married. And so those were essentially what we were going for. And so the main things we wanted to have were really good food, well, not really good food. We wanted to have good food. It didn't have to be the best food anyone's ever eaten, but we didn't want it to be bad food, which when it comes to a wedding, you want to make sure that people eat everything and want to eat it. You don't want people leaving your wedding and stopping at McDonald's or something like that. You don't want to run out of food. So we went through a really intense vetting process, finding a caterer so that we could make sure that everyone got really good food. And then from there, we had DJ and set up and made sure we had a bar that had, you know, alcohol. I'm not a big beer drinker, so we made sure we had liquid caterings, whatever, premium bar, whatever. So lots of different things like that, but we really wanted to have just a great time. So videographer and all that stuff was important because we wanted to make sure we captured it, but making sure our guests had a blast was probably the number one thing.
I think there's actually video of your wedding in the other room going right now.
You can say I lucked out. My background is in fundraising and development, and my husband's an accountant, so budget was very important to both of us. We both paid for our wedding ourselves, so it was extremely important that we stayed on budget. We knew what we were planning for, so when we looked at what we wanted to spend the bulk of our money on, we knew that me being a little type A, it would be well worth the funds to have a day of coordinators, so I didn't have to stress about setting chairs up or making sure the vendors showed up on time. And the other big ticket item that was a priority where we spent our money was our photographer, because I know that a dress will fade. It might not be a dress that my daughter would want to wear. It wasn't a priority for me to spend thousands of dollars on a dress. I wanted to spend a lot of money on my photographer, so I had those memories captured to show my family and my friends that weren't able to make it. Another thing, like you guys said, is fun. I wanted my guests to have a good time. It was important to my husband and I that we showed off Greenville, because a lot of my friends had never been before. I'd invited them multiple times to come visit me and finally gave them a good reason to, so I wanted to show off the city. So it was important that we worked with vendors that were our friends that would give us a good experience. It was a more personal touch, and I got that with Liquid Catering. I got that with Good Life Catering. I got that with our photographer, with all of our vendors. It was a relationship that I had been building without knowing, and so when my engagement came, I had so many options to choose from amongst my friends in the wedding business. So that was a priority, to be able to show those vendors off to my friends.
I was going to say the same thing. I wanted to show off Greenville too. We actually got married fall for Greenville weekend, which everyone thought was the worst idea ever because of traffic. But we basically invited all of our guests to come in the night before and really experience Greenville. And throughout the day, they hung out while we did rehearsals and all that stuff. So even after we wrapped up here, we're in walking distance to all of what's amazing about Greenville. Our bridal party went and took pictures on the bridge. And I mean, if you think about some of the other places, it just doesn't give you that downtown feel and being able to do that. So that's what we loved about being over here on the West End.
Thank you. I'm going to skip the question about did you use a day of coordinator. I think we settled that. So I think that kind of goes without saying. There's definitely a huge value in using a coordinator if that's something that you can work into your budget. Can each of you talk about, was there any kind of traditions that you tossed out the window? Anything really different that you did, whether you did a first look or,
We really were supposed to do a first look, but my wife was running behind schedule apparently, so I was really stressed out as a guy because I was.
Weren't you watching the Clemson game?
Yes, we were watching. All the guys were watching the Clemson game, which, to make matters worse, we were getting it handed to us. We were down by 17 points. So I was like, all right, well, if it's good luck if it rains on your wedding day, it's got to be like perfect luck if Clemson loses on your wedding day. So we're watching the game, and we're supposed to do a first look, and I was really looking forward to that because otherwise I thought I was going to cry up here when I saw her. And so then they said we weren't doing the first look, so then I got freaked out thinking I was going to cry the entire time. So that was a little stressful thing, but from a traditional standpoint, we pretty much did it. We even jumped the broom, which is something that we do, African American culture and a lot of that. So we did a lot of the traditional stuff.
My husband is, and he won't get mad if I say this out loud, he's an atheist and I'm a Christian, so tradition is kind of fun in our relationship because I have things that were important to me and he respected that, and he had things that were important to him and I respected that. So we did a lot of non-traditional, ceremonies within our wedding ceremony. We did a hand binding, we did a unity cocktail. Yeah, we totally did. We also did a ring warming ceremony. One thing I completely forgot to do was put my garter on. So we nixed the bouquet toss and garter toss midway through the reception when I realized that I wasn't wearing a garter. So it wasn't something that I think any of our friends really missed because Liquid Catering did a fine job of making sure that they were having a great time. But those were just some traditions that we kind of strayed from the norm, but it was worth it for our relationship and for our ceremony that made it a little bit more unique.
Yeah, I'll say we did half traditional, half kind of just our own. I think, again, after being in 14 weddings, you decide it's just important to do what's important for you guys and make it your own, because ultimately that's going to show to everyone else that it's your own. I can't say, I've had so many people tell me, like, I've never been to a wedding where it just was you guys. So we didn't do the bouquet toss, we didn't do garter, we didn't do, I did a first dance with my dad. That didn't sound right either. I did a first dance with Brandon, and I did a father-daughter dance because we shagged, because he's very good at that. But other than that, we did a cake cutting, but we didn't serve cake. We did mini desserts with Good Life Catering, which was really fun. Our ceremony we did with Danielle Baker, and we actually wrote love letters to each other, and then the first time we read them to each other was in front of everyone, which was actually really special, and we thought we were going to lose it, but we didn't, and it was amazing. And everything was just unique. We're both Clemson grads, so we did the Clemson cheer with the flag out here. I'm trying to think of other things. I mean, you just make it your own, and that would be what the biggest thing I could say is, whatever that means for you, whether that's super traditional or just little fun things, just make it your own.
So that kind of segues into, was there anything that you did yourself? So DIY is huge right now. Obviously, I'm sure every vendor in here would probably have a recommendation of what not to do yourself, but there are still some fun things that you can do safely on your own. Yeah. Did any of you have any of those?
I'll be quick. I mean, I think Pinterest is phenomenal, but it's also a curse because everything has to be Pinterest worthy. But you can also get lots of great ideas. So I work a lot, so I didn't have a ton of time to do DIY. But I had some friends help with, just kind of the sign-in things, the small gifts. I'll say I didn't do much on my own, but I looked for really cost-efficient ways to get some things done without having to kind of buy them. Basically, I paid other people to make things for me, but at a really low cost. That's all.
We did a good bit of DIY because we were paying for the wedding ourselves and just didn't have a lot of money. So one of the things we definitely did, or my bride did, the day of the wedding, her and the bridesmaids, they made their bouquets, except I think my wife's was actually made by a florist, but they just had bouquets of baby's breath, which I think, we still have one from the day. And so bouquets of baby breath for the bridesmaids. We did do all of our invitations. We did do all of our rehearsal dinner invitations and all that stuff. We used a social media app called The Wedding Party. It's an iPhone or Android app where you encourage all your guests to download it beforehand, and we used it throughout the entire wedding process. So basically it's like Instagram, but just for your wedding, if that makes any sense. And so at the end of the day, we have a whole app full of like 300, 400 pictures, all the way going back to the bridal shower, to all these other things. And so we did a lot of DIY, and then that way we ended up just printing those pictures because they were candids and random things with people getting prepared and, group shots outside. So we did a lot of that type of DIY stuff.
I like that idea. I wish I'd known about that app. For our wedding, we talked about priorities a little bit earlier. We knew for us the priority wasn't flowers, even though flowers are gorgeous. So I ended up going to Michael's and using every single coupon I could find to buy paper punches in the shape of flowers and floral wire and scrapbook paper. And I have the luxury, I guess, or the privilege of working for myself from home. So I would throw on Dawson's Creek on Netflix and sit in front of Netflix and make all my flowers for the wedding. And when it became crunch time, about the week before the wedding, I invited all my girls over, got a couple bottles of wine, and they helped me finish the rest of it. We also have a dear friend who offered to do our invites. She's a graphic designer, so she offered to do that. I literally paid her for cardstock from Staples and shipping. And she shipped all the invites from Manhattan to me, and I think my invites were about $150. So they were personal, they worked for us. She did all of our paper suite for the rehearsal dinner, everything. She covered it all. So that was somewhat DIY in the fact that I did most of the printing, I guess, and she DIY'd the actual invites.
Cool. So I think probably something that everyone here is looking at today is how to decorate the space. I know I've said this in every wedding I've done here, it has looked completely different. So there's tons of options for decor, and Industry Event Rentals is here tonight, and they did a fantastic job decorating the space. But there are tons of options, and I was going to ask, sorry to exclude you, but Harold and Catherine, was there a certain theme that you decided to go with, or something that inspired you for the decor for the night?
Yeah, so we got married obviously in October, and so we wanted to get into those types of colors. So like one of our cake flavors was a sweet potato pie, I think. And so we wanted to embrace October and autumn and all that. So we had decorations with burlap, and we had creams and more orange type colors in that regard. But the wedding colors were purple and silver. And so with that, we had one of these, but it had more lights and all kinds of stuff back here. And this is obviously where we got married from that direction. And then when we switched over for the reception, the DJ set up right here. So it kind of worked out perfectly. From a decoration standpoint, I mean, we had our chairs in arcs facing this way, and she came from up there. And we had tables, primarily just cocktail tables, like a couple, like maybe 6 in here, and had some there. Our goal was to make sure there was not enough seating for everyone to sit down at the same time. We did a buffet style, not buffet, well, I guess it's buffet, but we had stations, and we didn't want everyone to sit down. One of our concerns was if the music was in here and the food was in there, would people come in here? And it was perfectly fine. Just don't plan enough chairs for them to sit. Obviously, you'll need them for the ceremony, but you can have Kathleen and the team take them away, and then they can't sit down. So that's pretty much what we did. I think that's it for decoration. Oh, we had the fan lights things that I was completely opposed to for the entire process, but it looked beautiful because I was concerned that basically they put a 10 by 10 square here with posts that went up almost to these lights, and then the fan lights went to each corner of the room to add extra illumination because we were concerned if it was going to be dark, and I thought that the poles were going to get in the way, and of course they didn't. I just was freaking out. So
Harold and his bride compromised very, very well. The colors of purple and silver were inside, and the ivory and burlap were outside. No offense, that was you wanted the ivory and burlap, so you got kicked outside.
Yeah, I think we didn't go into it with these are our colors and let me plan around it, but it ended up being just very kind of neutral but fallish too. I mean, it was October, but the base we did kind of sage green and off-white on tables and stuff, and then our flowers, my bouquet was really fall. All the flowers in here were very bold fall colors. We did the ceremony in here, and actually we had our ceremony on the stairs. I was really concerned about walking down the stairs in a wedding dress. So we came in this way, or I came in this way, and he was standing there. And then when we flipped it, we had the band up here, and then we had some cocktail tables in here, but some rounds, lower rounds, so some people could come eat there too. And we were the same way. We did a buffet in there with seated tables, made sure that, I mean, we wanted to make sure people were kind of, perusing around. Yeah, we had farm tables too, kind of like, well, they were like farm coffee table. No, we did benches, farm benches upstairs on the deck. We kind of made some little areas. It actually ended up being much colder than we thought the weekend. So yeah, so we added heaters last minute. But really the decor was minimal. I feel like with this space, you don't need much. It's beautiful. And so we just try to complement it in our colors, just kind of neutral, like again with those fall pops. But I'm trying to think if there was we did do a photo booth in that corner, which was the highlight. I mean, if you want to do that as that's a priority, it is fun. We still look at those photos to this day, and also it's blackmail for your friends in the future. It was really fun. I don't know if that counts. Yeah.
The room over here, if you've been over there yet, we were concerned about, how would it look with the poles and all that, and so we considered wrapping them with whatever colors, and she said she could drape the ceiling. It looks fantastic. I mean, we didn't need it. Like she said, it's such a minimal space that you don't really add anything to it. It's awesome on its own, so we didn't do anything to the other space.
Okay, 2 more questions, and then we're going to open it up to anybody that wants to ask anything additional. The next one being, and it's okay if you don't, but any regrets, anything you wish you hadn't done, or a service that you wish you had booked, or your day was perfect. That's fine.
So our day was perfect except for one thing. We were working with a caterer, and long story short, the person we were working with, I guess, got fired or left, and so we didn't know that. So we were trying to pay our last deposit 2 weeks in, and the person wasn't responding to our emails. Obviously, when you've got money to pay someone thousands of dollars, you want to give it to them when they'll take it. So we ended up switching, and some messages got mixed, and they were supposed to pack our food up for after the wedding. Obviously, you pay for all that food, you think you're going to eat it all. But the day of, because we didn't have a seated dinner, we didn't have time to eat. Everyone wants to take pictures with you. If you can afford a cardboard cutout of you, get one, because people want to take pictures with you, and you won't have time to eat unless you have a seated dinner. So our biggest regret, and we've told every couple since, is to not, when the caterer is going to say, we're going to pack your food up, that's fine if they're going to do it. Just have your moms pack it up, or your aunts, or your grandma, or your dad, whoever. That way they know. I ended up with 1 chicken tender, 1 tablespoon of sweet potatoes. Like, it was crazy. So that was the one thing I wish I would have gotten my mom to get like a nice picnic basket and make us something so that we can eat later. So that's the only thing. We didn't really get to eat our food, but I heard it's great. So I heard it was great.
My regret you can't really get mad at because it was nature. Because Old Cigar Warehouse was not open yet. We got married in the Rock Quarry Garden, and I was supposed to go do my photos with all my bridesmaids, and then the rain happened, which was a hot, soggy, wet mess. So that was my only regret, is I didn't get to do my before photos with my girls. But, you know, if it was that important, I could always get them together, force them back into their dresses, and do it again. But I think there's really no regrets. Everyone will tell you to slow down, to stop, to try to take it all in, and there's honestly no time. That's why I think having a great photographer is totally worth the money, because you can go back and see all the stuff that you missed when you were just glazed over. I know when I'm talking to some of my friends about their regrets, their biggest regret is not being able to say no. And so I might make some enemies with parents in the room, but it's your wedding. Brides and grooms, it's your wedding. Whether you're paying for it or not, it's your day. You get to marry the love of your life. Stick to your guns. Have what you want. I know that I might make some enemies by saying that, but don't be afraid to say no, because if it's not something that reflects you and your partner's desire for your special day, you will end up regretting it. So make it true to you.
Yeah, no, that's a great one. But we really did look at each other and we're like, we wouldn't change a thing. But I will say that the videographer would be the one thing. We didn't have that, and we had a great photographer. But with the ceremony being the love letters, I'll tell you, probably one of the reasons why we didn't cry is because you're just so, I get nervous now being in front of people a little bit, so you just don't hear it. You don't remember it. I mean, I remember certain pieces of it, but it's very hard. And then you're right, your cheeks hurt after the end of the night, after talking to everyone. So the videographer I think that was the one thing I wish we would have done. Yeah.
We booked our videographer 2 weeks before when we realized we had enough money to do it, and I kind of wish we had vetted it a little bit better. I'm glad we've got it on tape. I'm thankful for that, but I wish we had done a little bit more research and planned for it, because it's well worth it.
Well, we use FamZing. I wasn't sure if I could say that. Yeah, okay, well, we use FamZing for our videography. They're fantastic. They did a pre-wedding video, like a trailer and all this other stuff. Trust me, it's very expensive to do it, but as she said, and we had our vows, we wrote our own vows, and having that recorded and having the little trailer and all that stuff was well worth the money after the fact, so.
Yeah. Sorry to say one thing too. I don't know if you're doing for rehearsal dinner night, but I feel like that's the one thing that gets missed. And so we did rehearsal dinner where everyone does speeches and fun stuff, and we didn't really have, I had to finagle a friend, like, please just, can you take photos for the night? So just make sure you think of either a photo or a videographer for that Friday night if you're doing anything. That was the one last thing I was like, oh my gosh, completely forgot about that. Yeah.
Thank you. I'm not sure if I don't think either of you did, but something we always recommend here to take advantage of is the fact that we have a bridal suite. So, Harold talked about, you had such a priority with that mashed potato bar, and you didn't even get to eat your mashed potatoes. Did you eat in the bridal suite?
Well, we did. That was one thing that everyone was like, you can't eat on your wedding day. And I'm like, trust me, I can eat. Yeah. Don't worry about it. No, literally, they brought us food. They're so nice to bring us this plate. And I was eating 2 bites, and I couldn't eat. I was like, I want to get out there. I'm so excited. I'm exhausted. I have so many feelings going on right now. So I couldn't eat, but we had it to do later. I will say, too, it was so great. One of the reasons why we chose this place is because you don't have to worry about transportation between, somewhere. I mean, it's just, you have everything right here. It's wonderful. We ended up getting ready. I got ready with my friends at my house, and we just didn't figure out transportation. So just make sure getting ready, you have somewhere, because you can get ready in there just depending on how many people you want in there. But it's great. That was our little breath of fresh air with each other after the ceremony. We're just looking at each other, and we're literally like, oh my God, we just did that. And it was that was great. I don't know. Yeah.
Okay. Last question and then
Kathleen,
we'll open. Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, I was gonna say, the guys, there wasn't the groom part space, so we just kind of all the guys put on their pants and their shoes and wore the undershirts and had their shirt and their jackets hung up, and we sat in there and hung out and watched the game, which Clemson did end up coming back and winning. It was funny. Someone came up to me during the reception and said, dude, aren't you excited the Clemson won? And I completely forgot it was a Saturday. I forgot all about the game. But my wife and the bridesmaids did have a blast in the bridal suite. They had drinks and got to make the bouquet and all that, so they did that.
Good. Last question, and then y'all are welcome to ask whatever your little heart desires. Just if each of you could give, I know you've kind of been doing so along the way, but one piece of wedding planning or wedding day advice.
My biggest piece of advice is being meticulous. We found a Google Doc that was like fully loaded with spreadsheets. It was unbelievable. It had everything from budget to guest list to what types of gifts are you getting for everyone, when are you going to give them the gifts, what timeline, vendor payment tracking, and that was just the most important thing. That's probably my shortest answer. Being meticulous with the details beforehand so that when the day comes, you can hand it to your day of coordinator and say, I've done all my due diligence, everything's already paid for, and we've got the agenda that I put together, and now it's just your job to keep me on it. So being meticulous in your planning process so that that day just rolled. It was the smoothest thing that ever happened, so that was probably it.
I totally agree with you. Plan, pre-plan. I know so many of us are in the throes of wedding planning and you think like you're drowning, but write it all down. Make sure you're working with someone who has your back, be it a maid of honor, be it a wedding coordinator, a day of coordinator, or your event staff of the Old Cigar Warehouse, because they are amazing and know everybody. I guess just recap, day of wedding coordinator, stick to your guns. Don't be afraid to say no and have fun. Stop, breathe. Just take a mental snapshot a couple times throughout the evening and just look at all these amazing people that are coming here to celebrate you. It's so rare that people, and we want to be humble, we want to be modest. It's so rare to realize that all these people are here because of you, because they adore you and they love you. The only other time that's going to happen is when we're dead. So enjoy it now while you're alive.
Who would have thought we would have got there?
I was almost about to
Yeah.
cry.
No. Yeah, obviously the event planning details, but I think too, echo what she said, and which is these are both great points, is that just sit down at the beginning and make sure that you guys are on the same page about priorities. I think too that luckily we were, and but at the same time there were certain things where we got into the list, that list of names. We first thought we were going to have this really small ceremony and then have a big party after. Well, let me tell you, that list expands like gremlins, and I just referenced gremlins. Yes. So all of a sudden, and that's with the saying no too. You just have to make sure, you guys are really on the same page. And you are a joint force to kind of how you are handling any other requests that are coming in. And so, so get on the same page with priorities, make sure that you're a joint force through the whole thing, and then just let go at a certain point. When you're like rolling into the week of the wedding, at that point, and even with client events, some things you're just not going to be able to control, and you got to let go, let the people who are managing it manage it, because they will not let you down, and have fun and breathe, and I think those would be the big things. You'll plan and plan and plan, and believe me, you'll try to think about things that you plan for an A, B, C, and D, and then just have fun. That's it. I think that's it. Yeah.
You guys probably wonder, but in case you're wondering on the space, we invited 350 people and got 225 in here, comfortably fine. So, in case you're wondering.
Yeah. We had a seated ceremony, and I think we may have maxed out the seats. Oh, she knows. We were 170. I forget that. But I think we had a few people in after. But yeah.
But yeah. The ceremonies have to be smaller when they face the stairs. That's why you.
That was
it.
That was it. Yes, we wanted. That's right. So great argument point for the family. But yeah. So yeah.
Okay. Does anybody out there have a question for any of our brides or groom? Anything? Yes. Okay, just so everybody heard, was there anything that y'all thought you just absolutely had to have, and now you look back thinking, yeah, we didn't need that?
No.
My short answer is no, because I think The one thing we didn't think we needed was the thing at the end, the keepsake. We have so many random keepsakes, unless they're koozies, they just end up in random places. And so, yeah, so we scratched that. So we don't.
I got one. Yeah, we nixed favors with a quickness because it was a waste of money. We did donations. Because we wanted to bring more attention to Greenville, we wanted to entice our friends to actually come back and visit us after the wedding. We picked 5 charitable organizations that my husband and I both really enjoy. We spend a lot of time volunteering for. We didn't give our friends anything, but they could vote where they wanted their money, and we did a $1 per person donation. So even with our, wedding, we knew we'd do a minimum donation of $100 to each of those organizations, and then $1 per vote afterwards. So all those organizations got some love, but no one got to take anything home but a warm heart. And a hangover.
Yeah, we didn't. Yeah, we did not have anything extra. We were very lean. I can't think of anything on scratch.
Yeah, I'll say that. I mean, I think as you're budgeting and you're prioritizing the things that you think, you know, I had in there as like, oh, it may be a priority, you start to scale back because really it's not as, I mean, just, again, that's what kind of stay true to your priorities. Because for, you know, I think we had planned for more flowers, and then you look back and it was like, oh, you know, I mean, it was beautiful. And then, so no, I don't think there was really, because we were really lean as well. So no, I don't think so. But I think just, and so to do that, I think it's just going through and just as you get close and you start seeing those numbers go up, you start to really second guessing most of the things that you're looking at too. Yeah, so I would say no, but.
Any other questions? Anybody? Okay. Anything that y'all want to send us off with?
Yeah, I think that everyone should try and do something super unique. I've seen all types of things. Even last week, I think somebody got married in Ohio and had all their groomsmen in like LeBron James jerseys or something like that. Like, find a way for your wedding to be so unique to you and your circle and your family and all that, that, you know, it'll always be something we talk about. We've been to probably 8 weddings since my wedding last year, and people are constantly saying, hey, do you remember when we had Waffle House at the wedding? And that's what we did. That was one of the things I surprised my wife with. We love Waffle House, and so worked with Kathleen and them, and Waffle House set up a waffle bar upstairs, and we had, I mean, nothing's better than like a late night snack after you've been drinking or whatever. So we figured we cut the bar early, saved us a little money, and then opened up Waffle House. So that was just something super random that we did, and it was just different that no one would have probably thought to have, but it worked for us. And so do something really unique that you can kind of say, hey, wasn't that ridiculous that we did that? I just think that's really good to have for yourselves.
I would say yes, your wedding is a one-time event, and that's awesome. Don't forget about the friendships that you're forming. Kathleen, Tammy, the rest of the Old Cigar Warehouse and the Liquid Catering staff, they are invested in you. They want your happiness. They will become your friends. They will become your confidants. You will be crying to them. You will be celebrating with them, and they will walk you through everything. So don't forget that they're there for you no matter what. And like Harold said, do something special. It's Harold, right? Okay, sweet. I know we just met tonight. I want to make sure I'm not messing up names. That's okay. Do something special. My husband, at that point, my fiance, we had gone to so many weddings leading up to ours, and we, maybe cattily, kind of took little notes, and we're like, oh, you know, that's a great idea. Oh, I didn't like that. You know, just comparing and contrasting of what could we do. And we still have friends to this day. We were at a wedding last month, and they're like, oh my gosh, your wedding was so much fun. People we hadn't seen since our wedding 2 years ago. And it's just nice that they remember how much fun they had and how happy they were for us. And so when times might get tough, because marriage is still a work, it's still a job, you've got all those people there that were surrounding you, so don't be afraid to ask them for help too.
One random thing is, when we got married, our friends had such a great time, and Kathleen could probably share this with you, but a friend of ours proposed to his, well, excuse me, before he proposed to his then girlfriend, decided to put a deposit down on the space. And because they had such a blast at our wedding, and Kathleen and company were very nervous He goes, are you sure she's going to say yes and all that? And so they had a blast at our wedding so much and loved the space so much because of what the team did and what all our vendors did. So, I mean, obviously you're doing your wedding for you, but we love to show off Greenville. We had a blast, and it turned out to be a space that a friend of ours said, this is so awesome, we want to do this exact same thing. So you'd be surprised who falls in love with the place.
And we're
too.
totally okay with you guys, sending us more business after you have your wedding. Totally fine with that.
So no questions? No more questions? Anyone?
They're all excited for the giveaways.
Yeah. Oh, we have giveaways?
We
That's
do.
exciting.
We have giveaways.
I would just say one other thing, just let people help too. I don't know if anyone else is like me. I don't like to have people help me a lot. But yeah, just let other people help. People, your friends, they want to help you. It's your day. So let them help.
Well, thank you guys so much for coming and giving us your time and sharing all of your advice and stories with us. If we could give them a quick round of applause.